Good morning and welcome to another Thursday episode of Gareth Cliff Show on the Real Network. Are we live? Yes, we are. Look at that. Magic. And Phumi Mashiko's here. Hello, Pums. How are you? Well, it's a good Thursday. It's also the start of May. Yesterday was the first of a brand new month, and we are officially in winter now. Hence the fact that Phumi and I are like wrapped up warm and tight and, you know, all that stuff this morning.
And it used to be that in these big studios, all these lights would keep you warm.
Definitely.
Now they don't.
You
Now
know why?
all
Because
these lights,
they're LEDs.
They're all LEDs. They have no warmth coming out of them whatsoever. So we're in this cavernous studio in our jerseys. I'm going to... Also, because this desk is closed here, I might have to bring a blanket.
A little blanket.
I might have to bring a little blanket for my knees.
A knee blanket. Like every old lady in the world wants and every old lady in the world has.
I in my office, which is also freezing because it has absolutely no direct sunshine in it.
Yeah.
In Rosebank, and it's in a wind tunnel. It's a nightmare. But I do have a little blanket, which used to be my grandmother's. So when my grandmother passed away, I took her little knee blanket. It lives in my office now.
Okay, so you inherited a knee blanket. Now it's even older. We have lots to get to this morning. There's plenty to talk about. We are going to get to the burning platform a little later on. I'm a little disappointed, but completely unsurprised that our guest who would have been here with us this morning, Panyaza Lesufi, is not here. So we're going to have to deal with a spokesperson of some kind. Fine.
One more disappointment.
Yeah, well, the ANC just cannot stop disappointing us. But anyway, I mean...
Have you seen their billboards?
Which ones? Because they're all over
billboard.
now.
There's a very long billboard that my niece and I, Kanako and Zotile and I, drove past.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so badly designed. On the one end is a picture of Cyril, and then on the far end is, I don't know what their line is this year, but there's a whole big space in the middle with nothing, just like green, black, and yellow. And I complaining about the design with the kids. And Zotile was so funny. She just said, all that space in between is all the work they should have been doing, because there's nothing there.
Yeah, well,
and she's a first-time voter.
But that's a very sharp assessment.
From a first-time voter.
Design. Yeah, I like that.
18-year-old.
That's very good. I'm very impressed with her. I think she should be our political analyst, our chief political analyst right here on the show. All right, so we've got a couple of things to talk about before we get into the politics of things. And one of those is an interesting event that Phumi invited me to on Tuesday.
Bless you.
Oh, my God. Great.
Woo!
Oh, my God. You see, winter. First day of winter, and this is what happens. Telling you. Anyway, Phumi invited me to a really interesting event on Tuesday. I was sitting at home, and she said to me, listen, what are you doing?
Just
come. And I thought, hell yes, I'm going to go.
Part of it is also because I also kind of like just said, oh, I'm going to come to this.
Absolutely.
And I'm bringing cameras.
So we went along to Freedom Park, which I have seen before, unlike many of the people who were there. And there's the weird detour road that takes you there now because they're doing roadworks in the center of Pretoria. But we went to Thabo Mbeki's lecture.
A public lecture.
Which ended up being a public thrashing. He just set fire to everything. We'll talk about that in a moment. But, I mean, Freedom Park is really actually a beautiful place to go and see. If you haven't been there before, if you haven't seen what they put up there, it's one of the few, I'm sad to say, monuments, memorials, or national sites that has been built since 94 to commemorate things in, you know, our capital city. And it's got a beautiful view across the rest of the city. It's got really lovely buildings and grounds. And someone said to me they once went there and Thabo Mbeki was busy taking pictures there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Just wandering around as an ordinary citizen.
Well, it is also, you know, that there's a big wall of remembrance that's got all the, well, most of the names
Yeah.
of people who died during the kind of anti-apartheid movement, and from all over the world. So it's got France, Germany, there are people who
Wonderful.
died in all of those places. And there is still an ongoing project to repatriate bodies of people who died overseas in all these various countries. And they put them all up there.
Yeah.
Yasser Arafat is
He's
also
on there
up
as well. Wow, Yasser Arafat too, hey? Anyway,
friends of the struggle.
Thabo made a very, very impassioned speech, and he's not really an emotional guy. I mean, he went through a lot of statistics, but basically reminded us, for those of us who are not actually aware, how well we were doing at a certain stage, which must have annoyed many of the people in the present ANC. But he did give them a few off-ramps along the way. He was like, Cyril's trying to do this, and he's just appointed this one, and that's going on. Clearly, he's been asked to come in and help because they're in dire straits.
Yeah.
And he's still got cred. So he stood up there and he told the story of his presidency in numbers, because the numbers are impressive.
Of 2 South Africans. Remember?
Yes, yeah. And as I said in a tweet, he's the guy who founded the African Renaissance as a subject, as an idea. And he's kind of undergoing his own renaissance at the moment. And I think he did a very, very good job of just reminding everyone how well we were doing as a country and how well we could do as a country if we just had decent leadership. He, in a not so subtle way, used the IRR, the South African Institute of Race Relations speech, which essentially said somewhere in the middle of it, the ANC has lost its brain. And I think not so indirectly he means himself. That's what he meant.
No.
They lost their brain. No, they did. And he was the brain of the ANC. Let's not mess around, right?
The ANC is a fascinating creature. Now that we're looking at it, I think somewhat coldly, 30 years into they're having to shift gears from being a liberation movement to being a governing party. And it's wonderful to hear him say that a governing party and not a ruling party, because that's not what they are. And to watch that kind of gear shift, and he talked about it, right? So he talked about the 3 ages, them going into a 3rd age now, which they are, as we watch all of this decline. But he also spoke about the role of the SACP in the organization, and how what he termed as the SACP trying to kind of wrest power out of this organization and steer it into a particular way. And the fact that they are not, and we spoke about this because we've had Anthea on the show talking about the National Development Plan and whether it is it's a veering into a socialist movement, and him categorically stating that as a nationalist movement, which is what they are, African National Congress, they are not a communist proxy, and that they're not trying to become a socialist state. That was also a fascinating
the language,
thing to watch.
There's a lot of language there which is like straight out of Russia, like the counter-revolution, which he brought up. So, we don't go...
who the agent of counter-revolution?
Yeah. We don't want to go too much into the weeds here about this, but
I did ask. I got to ask a question.
You did?
I got to ask the question.
What was your question?
I got to ask a question because he spoke so much about counter-revolutionary agents in a not so veiled allusion to Jacob Zuma and his breaking of not just the party but the state.
Right.
And so I asked about the 3rd term, because you remember one of the things going into that Polokwane conference with the ANC, and one of the things that I think was a big mistake for Thabo Mbeki was talking about kind of a devolution of power from the party and the government, and having a head of the party and a head of the government, instead of that being one person, as is currently Cyril. And so I asked him about that. My favorite question is about succession planning and whether that was a failure. Having that conversation, if it opened the door to counter-revolutionary agents.
What did he say?
He said he does not like the talk of succession planning because it feels like there's a group of people somewhere having a conversation about who to promote within the party, instead of having people in the party working hard for the party and the ideals of the party and then being elevated.
Seems like a bit of a sidestep to me. Anyway, he did have a go at Jacob Zuma and did call him a counter-revolutionary in all but name. Said he was a wolf in sheep's clothing, and that was the moment at which the ANC kind of lost its direction. He also went into the detail around Eskom and what a disaster that's been, and said, listen, I have clean hands. We didn't do that. Right?
He did. A little bit of revision of history there, or maybe a misremembering, deliberate misremembering.
Perhaps. I mean, I very clearly remember Alec Irwin, who was his then Minister of Public Enterprises, who was already screwing up electricity provision long before Thabo Mbeki was gone.
It was hectic to hear him. I mean, he did have a bit of a blowtorch in one hand.
Yes.
Because he also reminded us of Nomgcobo,
yes,
Jiba, and what happened at the NPA.
Right.
He spoke about Benning Clemeza.
Oh. Benning Clemeza.
Guys, find the interview. It's there. There were so many people shooting. I'm sure it's there somewhere in its totality.
Yeah, I also like the way he ended it. He ended it by bringing up the this traktat that the Afrikaners have all put together about how they want to be in South Africa, make a difference, improve the country, put their shoulders to the wheel, make sure things happen. And he said, this is the attitude all of us should take on when it comes to making South Africa great. So yeah, Thabo Mbeki, good to see him back on the stage. And lots to talk about and think about when it comes to that.
Yeah, but the one thing that watching him, even at his advanced age, hold it all together and still be inspiring, which is what I think we don't see from a lot of the leaders that we see every day. Still want to be conciliatory, still want everybody moving in the same direction. He still wants that. That's why he quoted the IRR, which
right. But the guy he's a real leader, and also he's not one of those people who's going to pander and say all the things that people in the audience want to hear.
Hey, because some of the stuff, it was still in that audience,
and there were a lot of and yeah. Anyway,
I loved the fact that he said to Mavuso Msimang, because remember he left
right
to go join Rocha Jardine. I think.
And Mavuso Msimang was also the guy who introduced him.
He was the MC.
Event. Right.
And he reminded him that people like Mavuso here left. You shouldn't be leaving the organization. We must fix the organization, he says.
Right. Well, oh, come on, man. They have zero hopes, says Kevin. Takes 30 years just to begin a plan to head in a direction. NDR goals got us here, archaic and rudderless. Huge erection, says, funny how all the ANC talk is about the party, nothing about South Africa. The struggle, my ass, it's all about power. You could say that. I'm so disappointed in Mbeki, says Carl. He said he would not campaign for the ANC, then he folded like a cheap suit. Well, yeah, I think he's been begged. But you must also remember, for him and for his legacy, this provides a unique opportunity for him to be heard again. And if you're a man who put his entire life into trying to deliver what he believed would be a better South Africa, both as head of government under Nelson Mandela and his own presidency, this gives him a chance to say what he's trying to get off his chest.
I actually want to find the speech because I do have it somewhere.
Okay, while you're looking for that, let me look at these comments quickly. And by the way, you can comment, join in on the show this morning, tell us what you're up to. I see lots of people up and about and busy this morning. as I said, the beginning of winter officially. So today is the day you can bring out those heaters and blankets and all those things.
The
So
other
Pumi's
thing that
bringing
I
a
think
knee
a lot of
blanket.
people don't, a lot of people disregard in him saying what he said, and he's been critical, and where he really has been on the side of the party is, if you consider, he started his speech by saying, "This year I celebrate 68 years of membership of the ANC, having joined the Youth League at 13 and a half years old."
Yeah.
That's a long time. That's a long time for a person to suddenly kind of walk away.
No, it is. It is. But he's not walking away.
He's not.
Very much still on the stage. Okay, the Real Network logo on your screen looks much better. Thank you. We're trying to improve bit by bit every day, and there's lots that's still going to happen, but it's looking great. And then Stompy says, oh no, that was Stompy. There's another comment here that I liked. Morning. I see only nowadays you're seeing hang on, I just had a brain fart. You are seeing ANC posters. Well, this is written very badly. Daryl's got like I don't know, this guy must have absolutely zero for grammar and spelling at school. I'd like to know, NOW, how they paid for them, because they cannot pay staff. Yeah, good question. I don't know. You must learn to spell, they'll learn to pay. Winter starts with a swing the door on a hurricane with me.
Ay.
I hate this. And I spent the whole day yesterday. It was such a great day. I did nothing. I woke up late. I had a nap in the afternoon.
Hung out with
I was wandering around the
Alice.
house looking like completely like a slob. I didn't talk to anyone. I didn't do anything. It was fantastic.
Whew. What a way to spend a day.
Well,
for
especially
workers.
Workers' Day, right?
For workers.
Yeah.
A day for workers.
Definitely. Winter officially begins 21st of June, Sugar. No, that's not true.
That's not true.
That is winter solstice. That's the middle of winter. Phumi and I are good with calendars.
What?
Yeah.
Officially begins on the 21st of June.
Let's not forget Mr. AIDS denialist, says Paul. We all thought he was off his rails then. Yeah. We must bring Thabo Mbeki on the show, says Quiet Conversations. Well, part of the thing that he said at the Freedom Park talk is he said he's been asked by so many people to do interviews. So he thought, let me rather just do this one and get all this stuff off my chest. So he did that. Carl says, I see the ANC have postponed winter until after the election in an attempt to garner more votes. It's going to be 27 degrees today.
Ooh, that's... Although driving into the studio this morning, it's a hell of a freezing out there. Maybe later it'll be 27 degrees. Right now it's like...
We can only hope.
It's like 8 degrees or something ridiculous. That's why I'm in 3 layers.
3 layers. Okay. So, Phumi, you wanted to talk about something else here. Maybe the May Day celebrations that Cyril spoke at.
No,
He spoke about...
13 degrees here in Sandton.
Okay, so it's not warm. Universal basic income. What do you think of that as an idea? Because the president said it'll be better than the 350 social relief of distress grant. How's that? SRD. He said workers asked for that to be extended until the introduction of the universal basic income. So they're going ahead with this. He's going to make it happen at some point.
I don't know if they're going to be able to make it happen. I think it requires a lot more than what they're saying. And this is why I'm sad Panyaza is not coming in today, because he has a lot to answer for. I think in terms of what he's been up to, they're not going to be able to make it. They also can't afford it.
Well, we can't afford it as a country, right?
They can't afford it. So I don't know how he thinks it's going to work.
Well, it's easy when you're playing with the house's money. And that's kind of what all of these guys do. And then I see that Apple is working to fix an alarming iPhone issue. Apparently, Apple says it is trying to fix an issue that caused some iPhone alarms not to play a sound, giving slumbering users an unexpected lie-in. For many people, their phone is an indispensable alarm clock, and oversleepers turn to social media to vent. This happened last... Did it happen to you?
No. That's why I'm here.
One TikToker complained that they had set the like 5 alarms and they didn't go off. Like 5 alarms. Apple's confirmed it is aware of the issue.
What is that? Setting like 3 alarms.
I do that.
Zotile does that. Zotile sets 3 alarms. She was at my house.
I do it.
Why?
Because if you don't hear the first one, you know that the second one means you've got to get up.
How do you know it's the second one if you don't hear the first one?
Well, you might have heard the first one, but thought I'm going to go back to sleep.
What's wrong with your snooze button?
Then you have to press the button. And sometimes when I wake up, sometimes I look at this stuff and I go, is that stop or snooze?
So
listen, when I come out of sleep, it's like I've woken up from a coma.
Really?
Oh, for the first 3 to 4 minutes, I'm like a drug addict. I promise you, it takes me a long while for everything to switch on. Like, I think there's a little man who walks into my brain and he turns on the main switch, then he switches on all the other lights, and only once he's got like the kettle boiling does he remember, oh hell, I was meant to switch that one on as well. And then I sort of wake up slowly. Takes me a while.
Wow.
You're one of those people that get straight out of bed and you're ready?
Yeah.
No.
When the alarm goes off.
No, this morning I had to shower, and then only when I got out of the shower was I like slightly compos mentis. It takes me a while.
No, but look, there are days where I absolutely struggle. But when the alarm goes off, just you don't have to get out of bed, but just wake up. I can see
a lot of people using this Apple issue as an excuse. Big time. You're going to see people arriving at work this week going, I'm so sorry I'm 3 hours late. It was my iPhone alarm. Please.
But this is the thing about working from home for a lot of people. That's why so many people love the idea of working from home.
Right.
Because you
no one can watch you. No one can see that you're not working. People will always default to lazy, right?
Lazy. Maybe it's just that it's not our human like setting to be like squirreling. We're not like squirrels.
No, we should wake up when the sun comes up. That's what we should do.
Yeah, we should wake up when the sun comes up. Have a look. But this is what AI is going to give us, guys.
Good morning sneezing and coughing fit from me.
This is what AI is going to give us, though. It's going to give us more
No more
time.
sinus.
It's going to give us more time to do things that we absolutely love, because all of the other stuff can be automated and relegated to AI. It's always been when you watch all the robots in Star Wars do all of these menial things.
We need droids.
They're coming.
Bring us droids. Okay, then I see there's quite a lot of noise around all those protests that have happened on US college campuses. Have you seen all of this?
I've seen some.
So what I find so funny is that they're now taking down these encampments, right? So all these would-be revolutionaries, all these brats who have struggle envy are now having the shelters removed by bulldozers.
I did see I think on someone's TikTok, one of the students, they were demanding food or something. Food and I was like, this is protest, kids.
I think I saw the same thing. It's this woman she's like, well, we've occupied this building, and she says, but now it really is the university's responsibility to allow like Uber Eats through so that we can have our meals. You're like, really? This is a revolution? Huh? You believe you're a revolutionary?
Oh.
Moron. I mean, really, these kids, I would like them to experience a little starving. They all look a little too privileged for my liking. And I don't like that word. I don't believe one of these people's ever actually sacrificed a damn thing. They probably are living off mommy or daddy or grandpa's money. Right?
Uber Eats.
What a joke.
I met someone
actually,
who
it's a human rights issue because I can't get my Uber Eats. A human rights issue.
I met somebody last year who, when he was in prison, he was one of the political prisoners. He was one of the people who were in one of the longest hunger strikes.
Oh, yeah?
that was ever.
Was he thin?
He is still thin. But I think that's more genetics than his hunger strike.
Okay. All right, I
They
see.
eventually had to I think they had to hospitalize them. These kids should learn about that.
A
That's
hunger
what
strike
they should be
means
doing.
you're actually prepared to die.
That's what these kids
Right?
should be doing. No Uber Eats.
Right, correct. Jacob Zuma left us with free higher education to deal with. Cyril's going to leave us with basic income grants to deal with. Yeah, it's all these promises that these guys keep making to people. And then, when they don't get what they've been promised, people get justifiably angry. But also, what did Margaret Thatcher say? The problem is you eventually run out of other people's money. And I'm afraid there just isn't any more. Tian Conradi says, Gareth, your interview with Eric Weinstein was excellent. Top stuff. Thank you. Take a listen to that. It is on YouTube. Just look up Gareth Eric Weinstein. You'll find it quite easily. These kids should all be deported to Gaza so they can really know what it feels like to not have food and water. Begging for humanitarian aid at an expensive university is such bullshit. Spot on, Nikki. Yeah.
Eric was at the thing, came along with you to the
Thabo Mbeki lecture.
And I introduced him to Dr. Padilla Hotla.
Oh, yes, the former statistician general. Very good.
Fascinating conversation that I stood next to with
About
the two
numbers?
of them. Your two, because they both have a maths background.
Yes.
Such a fascinating conversation, but unprompted. One of the things that, as we were leaving, one of the things that Dr. Palelo Hotla said to him, similar to what he said at the podcast recording, is that what we need is a new human system. Because, yeah.
What does that mean?
Everything else has failed because communism has failed. Capitalism is failing. We need a new way to organize community. And that's the exact same thing Dr. Palelo Hotla said to him as the unprompted.
Huh. Okay, well, let's hope we got to get great people thinking about these things so they can make the decisions for the rest of us who are too busy about bread and butter issues to worry, right? Or to know the way forward. Okay, so a couple other things that I see going on one of these things I love on Twitter or wherever, usually on Instagram as well, is these guys who push snowballs and big blocks of ice off bridges into water. I know it sounds ridiculous. This stuff is the most fun stuff to watch. You don't like that?
I've never seen it. It's not on my timelines.
My favorite thing. So there are also these people who drop stuff down like wells and holes, and then you listen for the sound of when it hits. I saw the weirdest video yesterday.
I have never seen that.
You come on.
I have
In
never
all
seen
kinds
that.
of places, they find a hole that just seems like it goes on forever and ever. It could be like an old borehole or a well. And then they drop shit in there and you just hear it going wee, boom, at the bottom. This doesn't give you any joy? You wouldn't want to watch this for hours and hours like I do?
Oh my goodness.
I must be weird then, because it's me and a couple of thousand other people who love this stuff.
Okay.
And these obstacle courses.
Like Ninja Warrior.
Yeah, but they have two people at the start of an obstacle course, and then they have to jump over things, go under things, climb, have to run.
That I could
jump.
watch. Like Ninja Warrior. That I could watch.
That is fun, I'm telling you.
That is fun.
So, I mean, between the hydraulic presses, the dropping things down holes, and the obstacle courses, I've got enough entertainment for the whole year. Do you know what I saw the other day? I mentioned this on the show on Monday, is the new Dune movie.
Oh, wow. How was it?
Very good. Very, very good. Love it. So that's another thing I caught up on during the course of the last few days. So it's been really busy, but I managed to find time to watch, hydraulic press videos. So I'm okay. That not your idea of fun?
Hydraulic press videos.
I was thinking, with yesterday being May Day, Workers' Day, I was thinking how many people just don't like to cook or make a big fuss for meals, and how many people do order takeaways on a day like yesterday. I'm sure it's higher than a normal day of the week, right? Because people are sitting at home and they're like, I could cook something, but actually, if I just grab this, I can do that and make it a lot easier for myself. I wonder if there's stats, and maybe someone from Uber Eats or Mr. Delivery or something can tell us.
Oh,
I'd be interested in whether or not the the number of people ordering spikes completely on those days.
I
Maybe if you-
almost fell into that trap. I really struggled about making myself something to eat yesterday.
Well,
I really did.
It's like, so you see, I don't understand. There are two kinds of people in the world. There are people who love cooking. It's part of it's like a ritual. And they're very good at it, most of them, right? They can make really interesting dishes. And they love the idea of being in the kitchen and preparing it and doing it right and following a recipe and all of that stuff. And then there are people like me who just find it soul-destroying to make food. It gives me
soul-destroying.
I'll tell you why.
Soul-destroying.
Let me explain. So you go into the kitchen, you cook, you make a mess. Everything is like there's stuff on the counters. If you cook something on a frying pan, there's oil everywhere. If you use the oven, someone has to clean that afterwards. You're throwing away packets. You're peeling onions. You're cutting up vegetables, whatever it is, you're making a mess. And then you produce this amazing thing. Let's say it's amazing. Okay, I'm not a great cook, but let's say you produce something beautiful and people love it. And then 20 minutes later, it's all over. Done. Like, what was that? Gone. Right? Soul destroying. And even worse, you think about the fact that the product of the great product of your labors, of your slaving in front of a hot stove, will eventually just be in the gut of some ungrateful human.
No, so I eventually did peel myself off the couch and made a baby spinach and mushroom pasta and sauce.
That sounds good, Pums. I won't lie.
But all of that is also quite I'm stuck on the soul destroying because it is
soul destroying to me.
Because for me, it is also a little bit meditative, right? So you're chopping, you're mixing the things together, and afterwards washing all the dishes, cleaning up, all of those things.
You find that part of the fun?
All of those things. And then to sit down with a good glass of wine and good food in the quiet, because I'm by myself this week. Kanekho's gone to his dad. So by myself with my glass of wine and my pasta. It was wonderful.
Come on. When you're eating on your own, you're sitting there at you sit at your dining room table.
Yes.
On your own.
Yes.
With your glass of wine and your pasta.
Yes.
Really? You've got all this trouble.
There's probably a correlation to waking up when the alarm goes off first time. Those two things.
I just don't understand it. Like, you get people who love cooking and who love food, and you get people who really just do it because that's what you got to do to live. And I'm one of those latter category people.
So we should ask the Uber Eats guys and I'm just sure there's some kind of, they must have some interesting statistics about that.
The reason I ask is because on a public holiday, probably I think it was in March, there was Human Rights Day or something. I ordered some food and I realized that all the drivers were busy. There wasn't a driver available. Yeah.
What?
That's why I thought of it. I was like, okay, it's obviously a big day for them. So now we know. You guys are missing the fun part, the hunting and the skinning. Yeah, you see, I'm not interested in that part either. Your perspective of saying soul destroying must be attacked by people that cook. All right, well.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Soul destroying.
So you eat out every day, you have too much money. No, I didn't say that. I just said it is. In fact, I did cook something yesterday, but it's not fun for me. It's just you make a mess. I hate the mess. I hate the best thing for me is a tidy kitchen. And you only get that when no one's cooking. Right?
This is true. This is true. It's like being safe by not going out.
Judith says, never mind cooking. Yesterday, I went out to a restaurant and found that eating can also be quite exhausting, especially when they serve you generously. Ooh.
What?
Where did
What's
you go?
A problem to have? You know, this morning on my way here, I drove through Rosebank.
Yeah.
And drove past people who were just leaving the club. I haven't seen that in a long time. There were people, they were like
They must have been like
girls in skimpy dresses. Like,
out on a Tuesday night.
Staggering off. Wednesday night. It was Wednesday night.
No, today's
Thursday.
So they were going on a Wednesday night. Not even the public holiday.
It was 5:30 in the morning, people staggering out of that club.
Jesus. Okay.
I haven't seen that in a long time.
Okay, that I wasn't expecting to hear about either. But then, doesn't that just give you a instant headache?
No.
I hate to be the least fun person in the world this morning, but I don't know. Maybe it's just because winter's here.
It did not.
Yeah, I am telling you now that this is just, if someone is walking out of a club at 5:30 in the morning, I'm like, I would rather, I'd rather be at the bottom of the ocean.
Girls teetering on their heels, like with the greasy food and little. I was just like, oh. It didn't give me a headache, but
No,
it did make
thank you.
me feel. It did make me feel hella old.
No, thank you.
It did make me feel hella old, which is also how I felt when I saw that Kendrick Lamar dropped another diss
Now
track.
this is a big story. Okay, so here,
Also
Pumi's
made
just
me
brought this.
feel
So
old.
Kendrick Lamar has released a diss track along with fellow rap star. Well, this is about Drake, right? Escalating their long-running feud. It's called Euphoria, and the song is a response to weeks of taunting by Drake, who's taken pot shots at Lamar in a series of viral, horrible diss tracks. Over 6 minutes, Lamar calls Drake a manipulator and habitual liar, and criticizes his parenting skills.
You know that?
Oh, you did that. Criticized his parenting skills. He also accuses the Canadian star of selling out, saying that he's only making music to pacify fans, and leaves listeners under no illusions about the strength of his feelings towards Drake. The rapper's feud began in 2013 when Lamar was a relative newcomer.
Dude, the chorus, the refrain, basically says, "I hate you. I hate the way you walk. I hate the way you look. I hate the way
I just hate everything about you." Beautiful.
We all hate. And it's not just me. It's the game. I was just like, what? And I have been trying to stay out of this like rap civil war. I'm too old now to be in the rap civil war.
I must be honest with you. It used to be something I was interested in. There was that whole, when I got into rap music, it was still East Coast, West Coast feud.
Which because that's, we're older and we're used to rappers who were astute with their lyrics.
Right.
Who, when they got into a feud, which is what the 6 minutes of Kendrick Lamar is. I mean, the man is well known for his lyricism, him. And I think the new hip hop fans, they didn't grow up with feud.
No.
So they grew up with rappers who only talked about how much money they had.
Well,
and how they dress and how the girls and the the littles. So now they don't know how to compute what's happening. But this is hectic. This feud is a little hectic.
I kind of remember what a big deal was when Eminem at the Grammys one year started like dissing all the pop stars. Right. And everybody was like, "Oh, how could you do that?" But that was it had already been done for some time in the rap community.
Mm-hmm.
So he just brought it to the pop world, started, criticizing Christina Aguilera and Britney Spears and all of those people because they were the big stars of the moment. But
the girlies,
I think rap has to be a bit like antagonistic, a little bit aggressive.
But it hasn't been for so long. It's all been about bragging. It's all been about bragging about the money, the cars, the girls, the clothes. It's all been about bragging. And over the past couple of weeks, suddenly people are just like, even Chris Brown and Quavo was like, "Mom, have you heard?" It's like, what are you talking? Chris Brown is rapping? He's shit talking people now. So, it's a brave new world for all the new lovers of hip hop.
I saw one other thing while we're talking about like pop culture and everything. Saw this very cool. It's one of those cartoons where everybody looks terrible, and it's Taylor Swift and all of her fans, but it's dark. I mean, what they have is Travis Kelce, I think his name is, who's the guy who she's dating, right? Is a football player.
Is that okay? Yeah.
And he like mentions to one of the other players, just quietly, under his breath, he goes, I'm thinking of breaking up with Taylor. It's all in this cartoon. And then one of the women on the sideline, who's only there because she's a Taylor Swift fan, she's like, oh my God, he says he's going to break up with Taylor. And all of them are like these, what would you call them? Because, I mean, she's middle-aged now, right? She's not...
Taylor Swift.
Well, she's not a baby. She's in her 30s.
Is that middle-aged?
I don't know, but she's 30-something. She's still talking about, all her songs are about breaking up. And like she needs to evolve to the next level. Anyway, this cartoon is funny because then they all attack this Travis Kelce guy and, the Swifties. Is that what they call them? The Swifties will take out their fury.
She was born in 1989, Taylor Swift.
Right. So that would make her.
Wow.
She's in her 30s.
Yeah.
Right. And this cartoon is really just, it's horrible because she turns into this monster with like hooves and like a goiter, and then she attacks him and she sucks his soul out. And it's fantastic, but it's so dark.
You know what I miss?
Taylor Swift.
Which was on MTV. I miss Celebrity Deathmatch.
I remember those. That was fun.
That's what we need. Celebrity Deathmatch. Taylor Swift and Beyonce.
So I just want to quickly go back to the kitchen thing and the cooking thing, because
is somebody still talking about your soul destroying?
Yeah. No. So Mapelo says, I don't know if I should be worried. When I chop stuff, I cut my fingers a lot, deep cuts, but barely I bleed out, and the cuts disappear within a day or two. So famously,
wait, what?
He injures himself while chopping vegetables or whatever, but he says he heals quite quickly. So I have a complete aversion to cutting avos now because I very nearly lost 2 fingers to avos. I don't go near them now. Avocados, I won't cut. So the only time I'll ever have avo is when someone else is cutting it.
Oh my goodness.
Promise you. Just won't do it. It's another reason not to go into the kitchen for me. Mapella says, but it's a problem when I'm trying to donate blood. It barely comes out. Maybe you're anemic.
Oh, maybe he's anemic.
Yeah, you should go and have that checked out, dude. Maybe you're also maybe you're a demon. Who knows?
Or some kind of Wolverine with like fast.
Yeah, like super fast healing. Sugar says that Taylor Swift would still be youth according to South African standards. Fair enough. But she's not. She's too old to be singing about like high school romance. Really?
I don't know what Taylor Swift says about.
I don't either, but that's what I assume she does.
I don't even think I could recognize a Taylor Swift song.
Well, you wouldn't have to because they all sound exactly the same. You wouldn't. Then it's not great songwriting. In fact, I think it's all very much repetitive. But what amazes me is these fans of hers. They're obsessed with her. It's like
Taylor Swifties and Beyonce's Bayhive.
Both groups of insane women.
And
mostly
intense.
Women, like 99% women.
They are intense.
But they're intense because they have nothing else to live for.
Wow.
No, I don't mean that. That was a very totalitarian statement. Okay, they don't have nothing else to live for. Here's the fact. These people, just like the pro-Palestinian supporters in America who are on these college campuses, they don't have a purpose in life. Now, when people don't have a purpose that's greater than them, they don't have something to strive for, to believe in, to live their lives for, to make a difference in the world for, they find dumb shit to attach themselves to. So they can feel part of something. Because their worst fear is that they are meaningless, that they'll come and go, nobody will remember them, no one will mourn at their funeral, no one will write anything on their headstone at their grave, no one will care that they ever existed. So they're terrified of that outcome to the point where they will become devotees of Taylor Swift, Beyonce, Gaza, whatever else they can find, right? That's a big problem in the world today. We would be lying if we didn't acknowledge it. There are so many people who just feel like they make no difference. And the world would be exactly the same whether they were in it or not. You know, everybody has been lied to for the last 20 years in television. They've been told, you matter, you could be the best you imagine. And if you just try your best, if you just work really hard, you can make a difference. We will remember you. The world needs you. Actually, turns out it's not true. I mean, listen, these are what the kids call truth bombs.
Wow.
But they need saying. So
they need dropping.
I think really a lot of people just have to find some honest purpose in their lives. And if you're going to fight with someone on the internet about Beyonce because you're in the Bay Hive, or you're going to get cross with me for saying that Taylor Swift's fans are worthless, it's probably because you're in that group, and it's probably because you also don't have a whole lot going on.
Yo, there's a lot of fun on the internet. That kind of fighting on the internet, you know this. Bots.
Horrific.
Bots.
Yeah, but these are also people for me. It's not just bots.
We have our own devotees of organizations on our internet that go off. So yeah, got it.
She is not. Christian says she's not a good model for women. How many boyfriends has she had? This is Taylor Swift now. Apparently,
why do you know this information?
Apparently, Taylor Swift sued or threatened to sue a guy who's been tracking her private jets. The amount of emissions she causes is astronomical. There's a video of the flights she took in 2023. It's crazy. Well, she has to get to her concerts. Her fans need her, so she's got to fly in her private jet, right? Paul says, I still think rap is for guys who can't put a melody together, hence the anger. Rap is crap. No way. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to stand up for rap. There's some excellent rap music.
Paul,
I've always thought
your mic is off. Paul, your mic is off.
I also think that people like Kendrick Lamar are real poets. These guys are writing stuff which it is a pleasure to hear delivered properly.
Listen, that Euphoria, the backtrack of which is Teddy Pendergrass, greatest inspiration.
Right.
Even just that double entendre, right, of playing on Drake. This is going to be like an opus of me dissing you because you are going to be my greatest inspiration in this moment. Is like, it's something special, something absolutely special. And to be even one of my other favorite rappers is Busta Rhymes.
Yeah, same here.
Because of his ability to rhyme on a syllable continuously. He can have an entire 3-minute and 30-second track, and it's just rhyming on the E.
Yeah, very clever.
Oh, yeah.
Very clever.
Oh, come on.
And I mean, Busta Rhymes is fast as well.
Yeah.
He can really rap fast. Okay, so just to go to Cheesy, who says here, hi, Boy Gareth, are you really comparing following pop stars to people starving and dying? Okay, no, hang on. I mean,
what?
Okay, so I think because I said pro-Palestinian supporters, so let me be clear about this. I'm talking about college kids in America who are locking themselves up in halls of residence or administration buildings and making encampments on college like lawns and think that they're sacrificing something for a cause. I'm putting those people in the same category as Taylor Swift and Beyonce fans. Yes, I am. It's the same thing. It's please notice me. Please pay attention to me. Please listen to what I have to say. Nobody cares about me, and I'm hoping you will. Please. That's what it is. It's exactly the same thing. Do not forget, says Zama correctly, to like and subscribe. That's what we're here for. We only do it for the likes and subscribes. That's, we're drug addicts, and that's our fix. Yeah, give us some more like and subscribes. Otherwise, what the hell are we going to have to do here? People in South Africa, says Azalea, had the same reaction to the Melinda Ferguson interview on AKA and Anele. Did you? I didn't really pay attention to that. Tell me about that.
I think it was on MacG. So Melinda Ferguson
Yes, author.
has written
Know
a
about her.
book. Has written a book after like interviewing people, whatever, which has some explosive truths. She
Yeah.
says, and one of them is that AKA did push Anele.
Ooh, out of the hotel.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And something
Jesus.
about him like ordering a tequila afterwards. So as she lay there dying, because he never went out to like check in on her. Explosive stuff, but lots of stuff which I think will come out over the next 10 years as we watch the trial.
Well, you know,
of
I mean,
those-
now that both of them are dead, I suppose no one will ever really know what happened in that room.
Yeah. No one will know what happened in that room, but we will watch a very much like the Senzo Meyiwa trial. We will watch for the next however long. We will watch a drawn out trial that's farcical at best. But Melinda's book and her interview,
Yeah.
she talks about all of these things and makes all of these allegations. And online, the bots, the fans, they went wild. People who were like for AKA, people who were for Anele. But what that interview, what I saw of the interview, I didn't watch the whole thing, also then brought back and gave more credence to the story that the death of AKA was a revenge killing.
Ooh. Okay, well, again, we're not going to know what happened in the room, but there's going to be speculation forevermore about what might have gone on after, before. There are going to be stories from family and friends. There are going to be loads of people who have plenty to say about it. Of course, most of them will be talking complete nonsense they've manufactured in their own heads. Shrimby's standing up for young people who are trying to have a cause today, saying it's not unlike our generation. My generation, the 80s, had Michael Jackson in pop culture and imminent nuclear holocaust. Okay, sure. And there were the Beatles before that, Beatlemania. And there was lots of other stuff. So people always have their thing. But it comes from the same place. It's like, I need to be part of something. I don't feel like I have
something
a purpose.
bigger than myself.
Right.
And I think, though, the difference now is because we have access, because everybody's got this megaphone that is their social media. And we've blurred the line between what's happening in your own brain, in your bedroom, with your idol and your posters on the wall,
Sure.
to being blasted into everybody else's space, everybody else's timeline. And one thing can snowball and snowball and snowball. Before, when you had your Michael Jackson poster on your door and you were blasting your ghetto blaster loud, that's you and your friends congregating. Now it's in everybody's face. And the fact that I think the difference also is that we now have such intolerance for other people. Where before you could like what you liked and I liked what I liked, and that's it. Now I hate the fact that you don't like what I like and you like something else, something different.
And how
Why
dare
don't you like what I like?
Right.
Why are we not all liking the same thing? How dare you?
I would love to have joined in that conversation when it happened, but my alarm clock didn't go off because Apple's software needs a reboot or something. Melinda's playing with fire, says Thabo Mbeki. Well, she's not afraid to write things. I mean, and write things that upset people. She's done this before.
What would happen to her?
Oh, well, she's an author, but I think some people they assume that there's, it's more dangerous if you criticize famous people, or if you say something that the famous people are going to get someone to kill you. I don't know. The real story is that MK, the political party, is in tatters at the moment. Nobody knows who's in charge. Some people have been fired. Some people are being apparently tapped on the shoulder and told that there's a hit on them.
I have a video of Vivson. I don't know how you say his name. Vivson.
I don't know.
Vivson Reddy.
I also don't know.
Singing So Nange Freedom Day. But he's also doing the
Jacob Zuma thing.
move. And I'm just like, oh, Nkosi
Can do
yami.
without that.
Guys, today is the 2nd of May. It is the 2nd of May, which means we are 27 days away from voting. We have a long 27 days to go.
Absolutely.
It's going to be long.
Well, it is the ANC's turn in just a little while on the burning platform. This is their chance to come and plead their case. And we were going to speak to Panyaza Lesufi. Instead, we have his spokesperson. And this is the ANC's day.
Is he coming into the studio?
Should hope so. He'll be with us in just a couple of minutes. Stick around. CliffCentral.com has become, in 10 years, the real network. We're celebrating yesterday 10 years of what was CliffCentral.com. What is now the real network? Pumi's look. Pums, I like that. That's
which
very
is why
sweet.
I was in my Cliff Central commemoration t-shirt.
There we go. So it's also a brand new month, and it's also the start of winter officially, which upsets the hell out of me. Hate myself some
Don't
winter.
be upset.
No, I do. Can't stand it. All right. That's us for this first hour. We'll be back in just a moment with the burning platform. Don't go anywhere.
This week on the AutoTrader podcast.
And it was raining, it was pouring, literally. So I'm going, everything's fine. All of a sudden, I lose all traction. I'm just sliding. And I was like, what do I do now? What do I do? And I just remembered, like, Lightning McQueen, really. I was like...
to turn right, turn left.
So I'm like, what would Lightning McQueen do? And I'm turning the opposite direction. And fortunately, I wasn't going, too fast. So it didn't manage to catch its grip again.
Yeah.
And I had the biggest scare of my life because, there's rocks everywhere. And it was just a terrifying experience. I don't know if you've ever been through that.
Catch us every Monday at 9 a.m. on YouTube and on autotrader.co.za.
Very good. Well, good morning and welcome to the Burning Platform, the first one of May 2024. This is the month of the elections. We're saving the heavy hitters for the most, I suppose, the closest, the most proximal to the election. And Phumi Mashiko is here with me this morning. We're also joined by Lesego Makhubela, who is a spokesperson for the ANC this morning. Lesego, we were really hoping to have Panyaza Lesufi, so I don't take it as an insult, but we were like, okay, well, we'll settle for this Lesego. But, you know, like we've had every other party leader, and it just feels like, oh, well, the ANC is like, oh, we'll send a spokesperson.
Yeah, so we have to start by asking.
We have to, yeah.
Oh, God.
Sorry,
Guys, I want to,
kill the
I'm
sound
trying
on
to mute it because I do want to see what the comments have to say, but I don't think I can.
You've got to mute
Okay.
it.
Oh, it's gone now.
Oh.
It's gone now. So we have to start by asking you, what are you authorized to talk to us about?
No, thank you very much. And then thank you very much for the warm welcome.
Sure.
There was no coffee.
I'm sorry.
It was just water here.
It's like Lutuli House.
Yeah.
You're lucky we've got electricity.
Ungodly hours. No, we've won the electricity
Have
battle.
we won?
We've won it. We've told you we'll win it. If not had load shedding, I don't know in how many.
But my worry
weeks.
is,
My
Lesego,
worry is that we
like
might
on
have
the-
it on the 1st of May.
on the 1st of June.
No.
1st of June, the lights will go out and they won't come back on.
We are trained differently in the ANC. We own up to the challenges that this country face, and we're able to explain what are the challenges. And when we put Minister Kosiensu Ramukopa, one of the outstanding cadres of the ANC, an engineer by profession, a doctor, he gave regular updates. And he says we have to refurbish, maintain these power stations. We have to take some of the units out. It will be temporary pain, but it will be long-term gain for the country. And now the units are coming back. We've brought back over 8 units back into the grid. They are contributing over 2,000 megawatts onto the grid. And that's why there's stability and there's energy area reliability.
Why
And
did
on-
it take so long to deploy him if he's this outstanding cadre?
Because,
Why since 2008? Why has it taken this long?
because we had put a CEO there who was writing a book instead of fixing ESCOM, who was decommissioning the power station, the units of the power stations, who was decommissioning units, who were failed dramatically. And there were many sections within the ANC that said this guy was a CEO of NAMPEC. NAMPEC is gone. It's no longer there. And
But he wasn't there since 2008,
Who?
2009, 2010.
I just
12.
wish your show will maybe one day just play what President Mbeki was speaking about. And for the first time,
We were actually there. We spoke
Okay, so
about that.
we can maybe start there because I don't want us to turn this into.
actually, I thought you invited me for provincial issues, but I have appetite to talk about everything.
No, good,
It's,
because I
it's
think
about everything.
I
The
think what-
national election.
so I was on my way out of Freedom Park on Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah.
And a guy in ANC paraphernalia came past me and said, are you voting ANC? And, you know, I looked at him and I said, that ANC, maybe. And he went, he agreed with me. And I thought, you know what, this is the problem, right? And I want to give you a fair shake at this because we've given every other leader a chance to first tell us about their priorities, what their manifesto says. And I think it's only right that the ANC get a chance to do that too, without us interrupting, without us throwing all the usual stuff at you. Because you didn't come here today to have to fight.
Yeah.
You came here today to get a chance, like all the other parties, to say your say.
I was told I'm going to the Lions Den.
It
seems like she has succeeded in taming the lion.
You know what? No,
Who's
I'm
the
not.
lion?
First of all,
Gareth.
Pumi's more dangerous than I am. So, Lesego, first of all, Pumi's more dangerous than I am. Second of all, we don't want politicians to come here and be torn to pieces. We've given everybody, and ask any of the others, a fair chance. And we want to do the same for you. The ANC just happens to have a whole lot more to explain than the other parties because you've been in government.
Incumbency.
Let's start at the very beginning.
Yeah.
We're going into an election. Everybody says the ANC are not going to achieve their 50%. And I'm sure you're going to tell me, we don't believe so. We think we're fine. We're on track to get our 50 plus some. So let's start with that. Is that an absolute goal here? Are you confident that you can do well in this election, or are you going along with what all these other parties are saying, that they're going to eat your breakfast for you. MK, EFF, DA, they all say they're going to steal the votes from you.
There's nothing new. It happened even in 2019 elections. After the 2016 local government elections, there were coalition governments in Johannesburg, in the city of Tshwane. There was a coalition government in Nelson Mandela Bay, and some of the municipalities that used to be run by the ANC. And I think most parties started believing that we can go at it. And they believed that they can arrive in 2019 and be able to snatch the running of this country from the ANC. It never happened. The ANC was restored to power by an overwhelming majority of our people in this country. It received 11 million votes. That's a lot. And went on to even win Gauteng. It's not new. It happens every election. When Mandela was standing as president on behalf of the African National Congress in 1994, there was a party which was formed just shortly before election, no different from this Zuma party, which was based on Zulu nationalism, which was based on actually ensuring that it entrenches the tribalism of the past. The IFP, it was formed, and people believe that it could cause an upset.
Sorry, I think I'm getting my history wrong.
You said no interruption, but it's okay.
This is a clarity point. You're saying the IFP was formed just before the elections.
It was formed just shortly before the elections, literally a month before elections.
Okay.
If you go back to your history, there was a lot of surge of violence, especially in the townships in Gauteng where there were hostels. A lot of people were dying in KwaZulu-Natal, and many of the negotiations were interrupted by Mr. Mangosuthu Buthelezi until finally he announced that IFP will enter the election. The IEC had to now start all over, recreate the ballot and everything. They were given an opportunity to be represented and to stand for election. That's what happened. So a lot of things that are playing themselves out, they are not new. In fact, there's nothing that threatens us about parties being formed. It's what we fought for. We fought for a representative democracy. We fought for a multiplicity of parties. We fought for people having a right to be able to speak and to choose a government of their making. And this is what we believe, that is at the core of the ANC. And that's why every election, when people are saying that we are going to win these elections, we are not at all faith. It's like Kaizer Chiefs saying it will win the league next year. We know it can't.
So, because I don't want the people that are listening, who've listened to this show for a very long time, to be misled by a confidently speaking you saying that the IFP was formed shortly before the 1994 elections. The IFP was actually formed in 1975.
Actually,
It was formed in 1975, and this is why Chief Mangosuthu Buthelezi was able to be, even during apartheid, in KwaZulu, in Parliament in KwaZulu. So, and that's fine. You don't have to. You don't have to, because I have a grandfather who was part of this party, so it couldn't have been formed in 1994.
I have to help you.
But don't.
Ingata was the I have to help you.
No, I don't need the help. I would like to give you. I would like to give you the opportunity.
On Wikipedia, you can make such.
I would like
such mistakes. Let me help you. I need to help you. Ingata.
No. Listen,
Inkatha
you can talk about Inkatha or you can
Tambo.
talk about the ANC. Which would you like to do?
Everything.
But what we would like to talk about.
Not misinformation.
What we would like to talk about is we would like to talk about the ANC
your listeners,
going
which
into
is not correct.
It's not misinformation.
Yeah, it is. I'm saying to you, Inkatha
You're going to have a tough time.
Inkatha was formed by the then president of the ANC, Oliver Tambo. Mangosuthu Buthelezi was a member of the African National Congress. He was a member of the ANC Youth League. Inkatha was formed for a particular reason. And that's why One of
In
the
1994.
1975. That's why
In
that's why-
1994.
That's why one of the outstanding writers, Mzala Mncumalo, who has published a lot of books, published a book warning the ANC after observing what Mangosuthu Buthelezi was doing. He wrote a book called the Chief with the Double Agenda. And why I'm saying there are similarities between MK and IFP is that MK, the Umkondo Wesizwe, one day maybe someone bright doing the desktop research will say, no, MK was formed by Jacob Zuma in 2024. They can say that because of desktop research. MK was not formed by Jacob Zuma, it was formed by Nelson Mandela and the ANC. Mandela being the first commander-in-chief.
But we still have a couple of court cases on the go, right?
And that's why
So,
Inkatha, the brainchild of the ANC through Oliver Tambo, its role, it had a particular role that the ANC gave it. Then Buthelezi turned it into a political party. It was not supposed to be the political
But that's
party.
interesting that in your mind, there's a parallel between these two, and that this word has been
very much the same.
usurped.
Yeah.
You say. I mean,
Zuma realized there's a vacuum in KZN, because in KZN is the chief, and it was the prince, which was Buthelezi. When Buthelezi died, all of us could predict that Zuma is going to cook up something. We knew that, and that's why there's no difference between IFP and MK. It's born on tribalism.
So you believe that the ANC has left a vacuum in KZN, which is what has allowed the MK?
I'm saying the vacuum of tribalism. We don't believe in tribalism. That's why we came to the show of Gareth. Because and this show that we're in here, we are not going to not come, because we believe in ensuring that we speak to everybody. We don't believe in tribalism. In the African National Congress, you find everyone. For instance, I'm Tsonga. I'm Tsonga. No, what many call Shangans. You find all the tribes. The president of the ANC is from a minority tribe. The vendors in this country, and so forth. So we don't believe in that. The ANC was formed against tribalism and against racialism. So you will see, hence I'm saying the MK party and IFP are the same, both homophobic and both tribal. Things that we stand against, things that should not be embraced after 30 years of our democracy. Jacob Zuma and Mangosuthu Buthelezi are the same, as Mzala Mncumalo described Mangosuthu Buthelezi as a chief with double agenda. Unfortunately, the leadership of the ANC at the time did not listen. The leader at Oliver Tambo did not listen that this fella is using this Inkatha formed by the African National Congress to actually elevate himself, and he did that.
so can I ask you then, because this election is slightly different in a number of respects, but one of those is that it is not just about those parties which are splinters of the ANC. I mean, we know that pretty much the story since 94 has been there's the DA, and then there are a bunch of these ANC breakaways. You know, whether it was Mosiwa Lekota and Mbazima Shilowa in the beginning, whether it was Julius Malema, who was cast out of the ANC Youth League, whether it's now MK. And all of these parties, people say, are just the children of the ANC who are desperate to be welcomed back home. Now, the ANC has been, I think, quite clever in one respect as opposed to the other parties, in that you guys have not closed the door to any coalitions. And famously here in Gauteng, you've made coalitions in order to get back into government. Premier Panyaza Lesufi has made a lot of noise in public, some of it good, some of it bad, about the ANC being open to ideas, open to other parties. Is that still your position? Because I think it's a sensible position. All these guys who say, well, we won't work with them, we won't work with them. It's like you're not being practical.
There are two questions in the statement you made. The first one is on the breakaway parties. The first party to break away from the African National Congress is what is called the PAC.
Yeah.
Now it's a dead organization. It's an organization of ghosts. Its leader was Robert Sobukwe, the former Secretary General of the Youth League, and an outstanding African.
Absolutely.
His differences with the leadership of the ANC was that whites can't join the ANC. And he drove people out of the ANC because of that. Said you can't have whites in the ANC. In Gauteng at the time, when the PAC was formed, there was a person who believed in reverse racism. I used to call Malema that when he was still in the Youth League. I used to call him Potlako Lebelo, who was here in the Transvaal in Gauteng. Quite a divisive fella, who also believed you can't have white people in the African National Congress. So Robert Sobukwe left, and they formed the PAC, which believed that we must drive the white people to the sea after attaining freedom. And then we must take them, all of them, Gareth Cliff, his relatives, and everybody else. And the ANC believed that South Africa belongs to all who live in it, both black and white. And that's why Mandela at the dock said that I have fought against white domination, but I have also fought against black domination, because we don't believe in reverse racism. And that's the first exodus, so to speak, of the ANC. And the rest is just people who just wanted to use politics for their survival. Musua Lukota formed COPE with Mbaze Masheloa. Guess what? This history keeps on repeating itself. The founders of the same party called COPE, where are they? They fought literally few months after forming COPE. They were at loggerheads, they were at courts until Musua won the party, and Mbaze Masheloa was driven out. Did you see the person who registered the MK party? Zuma has expelled him.
Oh, yes,
Just
yes,
like
yes.
Musua Lukua has done the same.
Right.
With Mbaze Masheloa. No difference. The less said about Julius, the better. Because when Julius left, and I'm happy you are saying he was expelled with his suitcase, Floyd Shivambu, because he carries him everywhere he goes. Right. Because he represented everything which was repugnant about the ANC. And people forget, and South Africans never hold this man to account for all the many statements he makes. He never comes back and accounts for them. He introduced crass materialism in the ANC, wearing Breitling watches, wearing shining shoes, wearing Gucci's, driving expensive cars, living in mansions, and speaking in tones and languages that were disrespectful. These were not languages of the ANC. Until the ANC could see that there's a problem in the behavior.
Lesego, these are fighting words, and the EFF are on the agenda for next time. But
yeah, they can come and defend themselves.
Sure, but the second part of my question, and listen, the audience is going to love that you brought some vim and vigor.
Yeah.
But the second part of my question about coalitions, because when you talk like this about MK or the EFF, that's not what the ANC is saying. The ANC is saying, we'll make friends with whoever we need to make friends with to govern.
The ANC will win this country overwhelmingly.
So you won't need coalitions.
What does that mean? What does overwhelmingly mean? What kind of percentages are you thinking about?
So in terms of the law, you need 50+1 to govern the country. We will get more than that.
No, I'm asking you a different question.
Yeah.
My question is, and everybody that sat in this chair, we've asked a similar question.
Yeah.
What are the percentages? What is your overwhelming percentage that you are hoping to come out of this election?
It's more than 55%.
More than 55%.
Well, way more than 55%. Yeah. And that's what we get. Not what News 24 says. News 24 research, not what what was exposed now in the courts. That the DA tweaked the research polls, which were suggesting that the ANC will be under 40. No one speaks about it because it doesn't speak about the ANC going out of power. But certainly there won't be any coalition at national level.
Okay.
Our people have learned what happens with this fruit salad of parties given an entity called government to run. You can look at what is happening in Johannesburg. Certainly we have regressed terribly. We had a mayor who went to Nigerian scammers in Hillbrow and went to borrow 40 billion. And they said, no, but give us 60 billion of the city, we'll give you 40 billion, and then we'll also fundraise another 40 billion. And he nearly did that mayor. right? We have somebody that even when you look at him on TV, my own mother, who's 82 years old, says this man is high. That's the kind of person, the mayor of Johannesburg.
Yeah, we've got a
Bamanda.
name for him as well.
Right.
We call him
You
the Nyompe Mayor.
You have a convicted criminal. You have a convicted criminal called Kenny Kunene, being a representative of our people. And nobody's asking why.
He was once ANC.
Was never ANC. He was a friend of Julius Malema. They used to throw those sushi parties, you remember? He's the founder of EFF, Kenny Kunene. They founded the EFF together with Gaten.
All right, so
as exciting as this
not
entire
exciting. It's
history
facts.
lesson, and
It's facts.
and it's quite fascinating to listen to this revised version of it. What I would like you to do for us is casting your eye forward into, because looking backwards does nothing for us, but looking forward is, I would like to know what it is that you believe the ANC can offer that is different from what the last 5 years have been.
Yeah, well,
The last 5 years have seen a halving of the middle class. They have seen inflation go out of control. They have seen our rand-dollar exchange be the highest it has ever been. We have seen record unemployment. This is where we are in the past 5 years. And looking forward, what is going to be different?
Well, we literally did not have 5 years. And this we have to speak about. You know, a very close friend of mine who works for one of the banks in South Africa visits India and arrives in India. And this person he said to me about 2 years ago, I'm not going to vote for your party, because she was saying the very same things. She arrives in India and calls me after, I think, 3 days of being there and says, I think I've changed my mind. I said, why? Says, I was not aware that the COVID pandemic took so many people in India. Says 2 in every 5 Indians passed of COVID.
that's not true.
Well, that's what she says.
Okay.
But the point I want to say is that the point I want to make is that in 2020, after electing a government in 2019, at the second half of 2019, we had the COVID pandemic. It had detrimental effect on the economy, not just South Africa's economy. It took global economies on its knees.
Yes, because of the decisions
all
of
economies
governments.
around the world, but also all economies
Governments, not
around the
just the
world
ANC.
have bounced back.
No, but hang on. Not just the ANC government. Governments all over the world made terrible decisions around COVID, right?
Yeah.
And they must be held responsible for that, including our government, who decided to cordon off the hardware section of shops and make people not wear Croc shoes and not be able to get cooked chickens. And I mean, it was such nonsense. Like that COVID command council, or whatever they were called.
All of that, every other economy, including India, around the world has bounced back to pre-COVID.
And we haven't.
We have not.
That's where we are.
We have not.
Well, now I don't know which stats your show uses.
Are we talking about unemployment?
But we use credible stats, which
businesses
are given,
that were destroyed.
Which is
COVID rules.
What is this credible statistic?
Your line of question.
Is the credible statistic that we
question.
now have doubled our middle class?
Your line of,
or it has halved. Which is the credible statistic?
Your line of questioning was that the economy was not doing well. My response, and you said that in your line of questioning in the past 5 years, I'm explaining a global phenomenon that would have contributed to where we are. I said COVID played a role.
And you brought up COVID, and I said that COVID was the reason that so much went wrong.
Okay,
and we haven't got better.
Let him answer.
I think we will have a debate about COVID. It needs time. And I'll even bring you an expertise on it. I'm saying we had COVID. And shortly before COVID, we had a very unique situation where the China-US proxy war, which was taking place. Then from there, while we were recovering from COVID, we have a situation now in Ukraine, the situation which is happening between Russia and Ukraine. And while we were negotiating for a peaceful settlement to that, then we have now an escalating situation in the Middle East, where men, children, and women and innocent civilians are subjected to a genocide by Benjamin Netanyahu, who's killing people
your talking points
indiscriminately
here.
daily.
No, come on, Lesego.
Yeah.
These are all things that affect the world. But Pumi's right. Why have we not bounced back? Why has our government been especially bad at managing these
we
things?
live in a global economy.
But
Our
according to
economies
the
are globalized. The people who are involved in this world, Gareth, let me help you. Our biggest trading partner, the United States of America, its economy is struggling. Our biggest trading partner. The origins of the COVID pandemic, it's our second biggest trading partner, which is China. The third biggest trading partner of our country is Russia. It's embroiled in the war. And if you look at the challenges on supply chain, and the challenges that this has brought on the global economy at a high scale, this has brought challenges. If you look, for instance, and I want to speak facts because I'm not John Steenhuisen. I went to school. I speak science and facts. I don't speak common sense. In 2008, our economy was able to be shelved from what happened in the 2008 World Economic Recession. We were held by the World Cup because there was massive infrastructural programs that we had embarked on and everything. That's what saved us. But now you have a succession of the people who are controlling oil. Iran. Iran is attacking Israel as we speak. There is a war in Ukraine. You look at and Russia is the biggest supplier, Gareth. It was the biggest supplier of gas to the European Union. There are challenges there. That has an effect on our economy. That has stunted employment growth. That has stunted our economy. But our economy remains resilient. I was speaking to one journalist.
In spite of the
common
ANC.
sense, common sense journalist who was telling me that, hey, Africans are running away from their liberators. Earlier this morning, I said, there's no South African who dies in the sea trying to go to Europe. None. Do we have Ghanaians who cut hair, who cross the sea to cut? There's no South African who goes to Ghana to cut hair.
So
there's
my
no South
question
African
stands.
who goes to Egypt to sell mirrors. There is no South African who goes to Lesotho to become a nanny. There is no South African who goes
Okay, we
to
get the point. No, we
Zimbabwe.
get the point. Yeah.
No,
to
my
go and
question
become a
stands.
gardener.
My question
Doesn't
has not
happen.
been answered. My
Yeah.
question has not been answered.
Okay.
It stands. My question is, looking forward,
Yeah.
what will you be doing differently that will give us different results from what we have seen in the past 5 years? What is going to happen? So simply put, what is your economic plan that will see a doubling of the middle class? Because we have seen a halving of it. What is that economic
That's just to get
plan?
back to where we were.
You know,
I mean, we go.
I have a fundamental problem with this question because you and I think you need to also invite somebody opposed to the ANC, very opposed to the ANC, the CEO of the Institute of Race Relations, Dr. Andres. He did justice to this country because he gave an analysis of South Africa's 30 years, very honestly. This is a person who's not ANC. I can tell you, Dr. Andres is a propagandist of the DA. But somehow maybe Jesus or Muhammad visited his heart and he started to speak the truth. He wrote the truth. He spoke about the two ages from where we come from since 1994. I don't want to speak apartheid and where we are. And he did it by...
And what did he say about the second age?
Of course, that's what Thabo Mbeki also said. That's what the ANC also said.
What did they say about
the
that? It was a
second age.
disaster.
Worst disaster. We put the most illiterate in the history of we've never had an illiterate president. We did that. We put them there. And when I answer your question, I always speak about myself. So I'm from Atteridgeville. I say this to my kids. I was born in Atteridgeville. 1992, I started school. So I walked from where I used to stay to walk to Batokwa Primary School, which is 5 kilometers to go to school. At 11 o'clock, it was break time. I ran from school. I ran back home to eat. When sometimes I would get home, there's nothing. There's not even porridge or anything like that. Then I would run after eating or finding nothing and run back to home, to Batuku. Then I must come back. On average, a 6-year-old me and many other kids, because we were groups, we would walk 20 kilometers to and from school, and also not having any meal. I saw changes. So that's why when President Ramaphosa spoke of it, Ntswalo was speaking about me. Because in 1995, I never had to walk back to school. The RDP was in full swing. We were given a meal. There were buses that ferried us to school.
That's the first age, though, of Dr. Andres's. I'm asking especially about the second age now. So you said illiterate president, but there's also been all of those people who were part of the machinery of that illiterate president's time in administration are still in the ANC, and some of them are still in the cabinet, including our president at the moment, who was his deputy president.
The powerful winds of renewal are literally removing all the chaff from the ANC, which it had accumulated over time. In droves, this powerful wind is taking them out. The ANC conference in 2017, which defeated Jacob Zuma, said we need to renew this organization. You know, when I'm a computer scientist, so I studied computer science at the University of Illinois. So there are three things when a computer is corrupted, and I think your guy there will corroborate. You have what is called a last known good configuration. You have what is called a system restore, or you can format and reinstall. So the ANC had to decide. The delegates of the ANC said, okay, what do we do? Do we boot this computer to the last known good configuration? It did not work, the last known good configuration. Or do you reboot it back to system restore? It could not be restored. We had to format. That's why the delegates of the ANC in both Nasrec, 2017 and 2022, they said you have to renew yourself. And that's why the ANC, unlike any other party, even in the world, it comes out, it owns up to its own mistake. It says, this is what we did wrong. We did this fundamentally wrong. We should not have done this. And we are owning up to our mistake, because we are students of Amilcar Cabral. Cabral says, mask no difficulties from the masses, tell no lies, and claim no easy victories. And that's why you are shocked we read Dr. Andres, because we are not allergic.
I'm not.
Okay.
No, I think it makes sense.
But
we're not allergic to criticism.
I still don't have the answer
You
to
keep
my
interrupting
question.
me, you and
No,
Gareth.
because you're not answering, and you're just talking. You're just riffing on all of this stuff. And initially, you started by saying you have a fundamental problem with me asking you what is going to be different going forward, and that's okay.
A lot.
You no longer have to answer that question.
Yeah.
I want us to talk about the country and not the ANC. I want to understand what your plans for the country are, that should say to somebody listening to the show today, vote for us because our plans are, one, on unemployment.
Well, thank you very much. And I think I know this is, but it's good, because to understand where you are going, you have to understand where you are, where you come from. And that's why the ANC commits itself to what is called the National Democratic Society, which is about building a non-sexist, non-racist, democratic South Africa, which everyone lives in equal opportunities. And Gareth and myself, I think with yourself to a large agree that it took a knock at some point. But what we have achieved is almost a miracle. And hence I was giving an example earlier, that you don't find a nanny in Lesotho saying it's South Africa. There's no South African who's fleeing from this country.
But you do find accountants in London who have fled from this country, black accountants, CAs, who have fled from this country because they cannot find jobs, and they are now in London.
Well, I've worked in other countries because I've got the skills to do it, and because they paid me more. But I've come back to it. South Africa is my home. I've met professors at the University of Illinois who would always tell me that we're just here to make money, we're going home. I've met Africans from many parts of the world who'd say, I'm not going back to Rwanda, who said, I'm not going back to Malawi. I'm not going back. This is my home. I'm going to be naturalized here. My children will be born here. I came back to this country and came and worked for Eskom and other companies. So
But
I'm
equally,
saying,
you will find South Africans all
Sorry?
over. You will find South Africans
Even
in other
whites.
countries,
Yeah.
all kinds,
no,
who've decided this is it now because they can't find things to do here.
I've been everywhere in the world.
But
I've not met a
all right,
South African.
To argue about this is pointless, but even if they're going over there to make money, it's because they can't do it here. We should be providing an economy. We should be making it possible for people to fulfill their dreams and ambitions in this country and contribute while they're doing it.
In a globalized economy, an American can be in South Africa to come and work. That's a globalized economy of shared skills, of shared economic values, of opportunities and everything. In that economy, you can find somebody from Britain here working.
But Lesego,
And
the
going
global
back-
And we
economy
have the
does not
highest
respect
unemployment
us.
in the world. We have the highest youth unemployment. We have almost 40% unemployment rate in South Africa.
Yeah.
And you have an aversion to answering my questions
And that's why
about economic plans.
That's why I said to you, go and look at economic growth in the most advanced economies in the world, the United States and Britain and many of the European countries. They are facing the similar challenges as we do.
I'm asking about
They
the
are.
answers that you are giving
Yes.
to South Africans
Yes.
that are unemployed today.
Yes.
What is it that you are proposing is going to be the answer to change their life? That's all I'm asking
One of
you.
the biggest initiatives, which I think, and it would have been lovely that Premier Lesotho is here. He's done something outstanding. Within a year of being in office, we've created over 150,000 jobs in what is called Nasi Spani. These are not EPWP jobs. These are jobs for professionals. And we did this to respond to some of the challenges. The first set of jobs were what we call the crime wardens, because we realized that the police were overwhelmed. They could not be able to keep our people safe. And we believed in recruiting young people who were transplanted from already existing community policing forums and those who were participating in ensuring that our spaces are free. Then we brought them in. The cities had collapsed. I mean, you never speak about Tshwane, something which disturbs me as a person.
Why do you say that?
I listen to your show, by the
No,
way.
we speak about, so we've even had the mayor of Tshwane on the show.
A joke of a person. That city used to be well run. One of the best run cities in the world. The first city in the world to introduce free public Wi-Fi, where every school in Tshwane had Wi-Fi, where every mall, where all public parks and everything else, they had those things. It was run by Dr. Ramokopa. You brought a joke of a person called Solim Simanga, the architect of the collapse of it. Within a year, he was removed because they saw he's a joke. He's now a premier candidate or something like that. Within a year, he was out. Tshwane received the worst audit outcome in the history of democratic South Africa. It received a disclaimer. The Auditor General said to Tshwane, you have falsified your books. You have misrepresented your books. You said you can't account for 20 billion. The international rating agencies came down and actually has rated that city into junk. People in Hammanskraal died of cholera. No one in this country dies of cholera except where the DA and Action SA are governing. They died of cholera. If you look at in Mamelodi, where my parents are from, in Ikahing, 4 years no water. That city is now filthy. If you remember John Robbie, an ardent critic of the ANC, arrived one day through a helicopter on Mandela Day and tweeted. All of us were shocked. He said, I've never seen such clean townships. Go now to Atteridgeville, where I'm from. Go to Mabopane. Go to Mamelodi and everywhere else. It has gone down. And some of these things are contributing factors of the regress that is continuously being registered. And hence I answered your question earlier today. Our people are saying to us, we don't want to see what is happening in Tshwane, happening in the whole of Gauteng. We don't want to see this fruit salad of political parties, of pickpocketers, of swindlers, of people without metric. That's because that's what Tshwane was. There's a guy called Stephen de Villiers who was earning millions. He knows him. I think they are friends with Gareth.
I still,
No,
what
With
I
a
friends, I don't know
bodybuilder
this.
certificate. He was hired as a senior director with a
So-
bodybuilder certificate.
we're back to looking backwards.
No, we're
And
looking now.
And I am asking you to talk to us about economic policy,
Yeah.
but you choose not to. Let's talk about safety.
Yeah.
Going forward, we have a crime problem in this country, which has also grown to becoming syndicated nodes of criminality, whether it is in the construction business, whether it is in the transportation business. What is the plan going forward regarding crime and safety that is different from what has been happening over the past
In the context of
15 years?
In the context of how things as announced by Premier Lesofie, what we have simply done is that we believe that we need to invest in technology, which we have started. The introduction of drones, the conversion of what used to be ETOL gantries to ensure that we do facial recognitions of people who are passing there. The introduction of the crime wardens, which will make sure that we have crime wardens in every ward in this particular province. The introduction of and actually giving police more vehicles, ensuring that we have more helicopters, but also the involvement of communities, because crime happens when communities don't take a stand, and that is the biggest problem everywhere else. I mean, I watch a show every Sunday. I love it. Called Sizokuthola, Channel 157. The reason why this country is going where it is going is because members of the public are not playing an active role in ensuring that we secure this country. It is communities that actually protect criminals. It is communities that work with criminals. It is some of the vile and corrupt policemen who work for the SAPS, who work with this particular criminal, and that's why they are emboldened. A person is able to kill a person in Jugule, in Soshanguve, in the full glare of the community, and no one is going to say, I saw this person who did this. They are not going to do it. In the safest spaces in our province, if you check, even, I mean, where I come from, where I live is Lotus Gardens. We used to have big hijackings. The community came together, not any party. The community came together and say, we have to police this ourselves. There are people who volunteer. 3 years now on, there's not been a single hijacking. There's not been a single house breaking. Yeah, Gareth?
No, Lesego, I think Phumi's questions about the economy and then the questions about safety, and you've even hinted at this yourself in your answer, is that people are now taking on these responsibilities themselves. In your community, for example, I applaud that.
Yeah.
But it is because government has left a vacuum in those places. It is because government, I mean, the police people just
His
don't
words
trust.
were corrupt police.
Yeah, corrupt police.
Yeah,
We don't
very
trust the
corrupt.
police. We don't trust ESCOM. So now, if we can afford to, we must put in solar. If we can't afford to, we must just hope that there's electricity at some point so we can cook meals for our children. You've got to hope there's water.
You don't have to worry
You've
about
got to hope.
ESCOM
Okay,
anymore.
fine. But so far that we were promised that for a long time and we were lied to. So you can understand why we're hurt. It's like the woman whose husband keeps coming home and hitting her. And he says to her, I won't hit you anymore. I promise. I'm sorry. That's over. I love you. Yeah. He comes back the next day and hits her again. This is how we feel. We're traumatized as people. So we've done what we've had to do to survive. We've got a huge number of municipalities in this country. And you mentioned Tshwane. It may not be the best run. Sure.
West.
I live there. You live there. So the reality is that 92% of the municipalities in the country are insolvent. That was according to the Statistician General. Insolvent. Now, most of those are run by the ANC. We can't just pretend that's not happening. Those people have already got used to living without government. They know what it's like to live without government.
And that's why some of these questions that you ask, they require a granular, detailed discussion. Because if you speak about a municipality somewhere in the northwest or in Limpopo, where there is no revenue collection at all, and you expect that a municipality not to be insolvent, it's not possible. A municipality like Tshwane, it collects. it collects revenue. There are a lot of industrial parks in Tshwane. There are a lot of households where you live, the affluent suburbs in Tshwane. The townships in Tshwane, they receive services.
But you know where revenue collection happens nationally. SARS is responsible for that. And remember, municipalities get a small amount of the total. National government gets the majority of the revenue. Am I right?
I'm happy with what you just said.
I'm right.
Yes, because our structure of government, Gareth, is that the local sphere of government must self-generate its own revenue. And national government and provincial government gives the local municipalities grants for them to perform certain tasks. So if a municipality can't self-generate its own revenue, that municipality won't work. I mean, you can just get grants from national or provincial government, which amount to 2% of what is in your bank account. And the rest must come from the people. So if you are...
And we're talking about, what, 18 million people are living on social grants? That's part of the reason why the municipalities and their revenue collection is so low, is because you have such high unemployment, or people are living on a grant system, or you have indigent households that cannot. And this is why the first question was around economic policy. But the thing in this conversation, which I am not hearing, and I hope we can get there, is the plans by national government. And that's why I also started by saying, what are you authorized to talk to us about? If you're only you're authorized to talk about everything, fantastic. But you keep wanting to talk about history and not about what we should be voting for. You're telling us about things that have collapsed. You're telling us about things that are not working. You're telling us about a corrupt, in terms of policing, a corrupt system, corrupt individuals within the system, but you are not telling us how that is going to be fixed. That's what I'm asking about. Okay. I'm asking about going forward, because what you are asking of us is you are asking for a mandate for another 5 years that says, in these 5 years, if you give me this mandate, this is what I can deliver, this is what I will do, this is how I will do it differently. I've not heard you say any of those things.
Yeah, of course. No, thanks. You can't speak about where you are going without talking about where you've come from,
You've
where
said
you
this
are,
already.
and everything. I've explained on the issue of, for instance, if you are to speak about the economy, you can't fix the economy without fixing Eskom, because it's at the heart of the economy. And that's why we send the best brains to go and fix Eskom. And I've explained earlier, I thought maybe we could have taken what I said about Eskom, that it was broken. And we had to go back and fix it. Fix some of the units which had not been maintained for a long time, refurbish them, return them to service, and recommissioned some of the plants that were out, which were not contributing to the grid. Eskom has been stabilized. Eskom now is working optimally. It is not where we desire it to be. The official policy of the ANC is what we call energy mix. You still have to have your solar. It will even help you from your municipal bill. But we also believe in ensuring that we introduce green energy into the mix, bringing hydro energy, using the energy of the wind, and all sorts of green energy, and ensuring that we go back even to our dams and we make use of them to produce energy, to ensure that we are able to stabilize our energy. Because the grid was, the base load, the energy base load was so compromised, and that's why we had the problem. So we fixed Eskom. The second biggest problem that South Africans have in this country is that they're not feeling safe. And we discussed it about the issue of crime. I explained that in the context of Gauteng, because this is one of the most highly industrialized province, where every year, according to statistics, South Africa, there's 350,000 people who migrate to Gauteng, including those from Cape Town. They come here. We have to deal with crime. We said, let's bring in drones. Let's bring in technology. Let's bring in facial recognition technology. But let's add eyes and boots on the ground and ensure that we are able to then fight this particular crime here. But we can't do it without the community. Apartheid could only be ended not only by the ANC, but by involvement of civil society and communities, which played an active role in ensuring that we're able to fight. So we need communities to be part of it. And once you are able to fight crime, to end it, and to ensure that you end gender-based violence, then you are creating an environment which was there when President Mbeki was president, when President Kgalema Motlanthe was president, Mandela was president. And an environment which is conducive for investor confidence. You are able to bring money. Then you are able to then create jobs. But that can be done outside the international balance of forces. What is happening outside our country, which some people believe they don't have a bearing. Go and ask somebody who's working at Toyota, when they order a part, how long it takes to arrive because of the disruption of the global supply chain. Go and ask somebody who is a farmer when they order some of the equipment that they use for farming, how long it takes and how much it costs, which is also driving the price of everything.
Okay.
So you can't do it without
one last
that.
question, please.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because we have 9.
I have time.
No.
We have time.
But our listeners may
As long
not.
as we're not doing idols, I don't have to sing.
Our
It's not a
listeners may
problem.
not.
Don't have to say. No.
Yeah.
One of the biggest burdens on our state and its capacity to deliver, and Thabo Mbeki also spoke about this on Tuesday, has been an endemic corruption. Even you talked about COVID. During COVID, people were dying and the comrades were stealing money. What is the plan about dealing with corrupt officials, with corrupt politicians, with corrupt tenderpreneurs? What is the plan going forward? Because we've seen nothing. Again, in the past 5 years, Gareth's favorite, Shamila Patoy. Gareth and
And we don't see any orange overalls.
Gareth and Kanthan's not here. Gareth and Kanthan's favorite. They had lots of hope for Shamila when she was appointed. And here we sit. We're still not seeing orange overalls.
Well, because we're a constitutional democracy. We're not a banana republic. Where if I look at you and I think you smell like a thief, I decide that you go to jail. The former president of the country is in court every other week. The former president of this country is in court every other week. The Speaker of Parliament has been arrested, is in court. This is the highest ranking official after the president. Is in court. There are officials, we've arrested some of the high flyers, those who were involved in the embezzlement of COVID funds. They were taken out. We're acting. Hence I said here earlier on that the harsh winds of renewal are removing all the chaff that the ANC will have accumulated over the years. That's why you are having President Mbeki coming out and saying, I will go and canvass for the African nation openly. And I'm urging South Africans to go and vote for the ANC, because when he was not happy with the raid, the leadership sat down with him and said, President, you built institutions, and these institutions were taking those who have been alleged to have done this or that. We're taking them through these institutions. We're taking them through the criminal justice system. And it takes time. Unfortunately, the wheels of justice, they take time. And when they grind, they will grind until they are able to deal with those who've been implicated. Because we're not a banana republic. Unless you want us to behave like these other countries where a person today goes to court, tomorrow they are beheaded. They are killed, or what happened in apartheid where Solomon Mahlangu is arrested next month.
Why do some people get to step
like that?
Why do some people get to step aside and some do not?
Who has not stepped aside?
Oh, there's a Zondo report that's 400 pages filled with names, and people are still in parliament. People are still in parliament. People are still in their positions. Whistleblowers are still being to this day being victimized. And we do not see, and you are saying that we must just wait. We must wait indefinitely for the winds of change.
The step aside, the step aside police, the police of the African National Congress. The
Hey, who are also the people that deploy
ANC
comrades into all sorts of
the
positions.
ANC in 2017 said we need to work differently on this. There are two things we need to do. Firstly, there must be lifestyle audits of comrades who are in the executive. Yes, in Gauteng we've done it, and we've released those audits. And secondly, those who have in the past, you remember during the Zuma years, there used to be a slogan that says, innocent until proven guilty. Then there will be people who go to courts and sing. No, we don't do it. When you are charged, the step aside policy says you must be charged.
For the benefit of our listeners who may have missed some of those audits that were taken out, do you want to share maybe 2 or 3 people that we should be aware of that
Which
maybe
one?
we are not of
Which
those audits and what the results of those audits were?
Oh, no, nothing was found on any of the MECs in Gauteng. In fact, the difference between us and other people is that the people who do the audits is state security agencies. That we don't hire a law firm like what is done in the Western Cape. We don't hire a law firm and says no, MECs must go to this law firm and be vetted. No. State security agent. That's why this guy who's the CEO of SABC, he shocked all of us because everyone before him was vetted. When he's vetted, he says, no, there seems to be an agenda. No, you can't. You need top security clearance. Sorry? No, I don't. But you know the CEO, you can just go. You are fond of Google. I saw you doing some desktop research, so I was thinking.
No, actually, that's not desktop research. It's my own research.
So I'm saying that we have done extremely well in terms of the number of graduates that we have produced, in terms of the institutions that we have built, in terms of the people who have never been in the mainstream of the economy of this country, in terms of the women who are in leadership. The ANC is the only party in the world where 50 plus women are represented in parliament, in legislatures, in councils. And this is not just a requirement. This is law in the ANC. Those who are found, for instance, I attended a case. I'm also a chief whip in my other job that I get paid for. A police officer charged with looking after the deputy speaker of the Gauteng provincial legislature goes and opens a case, in your case of step aside. And after opening a case, while I go and attend, because this person is my friend, I attend as a friend. This police officer says, no, I'm here because I was assaulted by the deputy speaker. She assaulted me. Then the lawyers ask, but you said to her lawyers that you want this to be settled out of court. She says, yes. And you said you wanted 1 million. She said, yes. Because a police officer wants to extort money from a politician because she knew, that person knows that the deputy speaker is from a party that believes in step aside. So everybody who has been charged by the courts, who has went to court and said, we are charging you, comrade, there are allegations, you step aside, it's not even discussed. You step aside.
I want to say that there are advantages and there are disadvantages to being the incumbent.
Yeah.
And the ANC is the incumbent party and Cyril Ramaphosa is the incumbent president.
Yes.
And we have a system in this country where the president is elected by a majority vote and a party elects him president. Are you as the ANC satisfied with Cyril Ramaphosa's performance as president? Are you convinced that he is the right guy to take us forward for another 5 years? Or are we going to have another situation where, the president needs to be recalled at some point in the near future?
We're more than convinced.
Because it's happened a lot.
It has happened twice.
It's a lot.
And when it happened for the first time, it shook a lot of people. Even myself, I was young. I was 22 years. I just came back from the US and I was shocked.
It was a disaster.
That decision. The ANC owns up to that decision. That was disastrous to recall President Mbeki months away from elections. But the best decision was to recall Zuma. We don't regret it. And that's why when President Ramaphosa took over, he took over a mess that President Mbeki and Dr. Andra spoke about, where deliberately institutions of the state were compromised. You had a guy called Benning Tlemeza. It was the ANC under
We named the show after him.
the current Secretary General of the ANC, Fikile Mbalula, fought with him, took him to court.
Yeah.
Took him to court until he was removed.
But get back to the president.
I'm getting back to the president. So when the president came in, the first thing he had to do, he had to restore those institutions that were broken, including SARS. You know how badly broken SARS. So there was a guy
Tom Moyani,
called
right?
Tom Moyani. I don't know why he's not in prison, Tom Moyani. He had to fix it. He had to fix SARS. He had to fix National Treasury. He had to fix ESCOM. Those clowns who were there at ESCOM, you remember them. At the SABC, the public broadcaster, there was a guy called Saudi.
Mutsuenen, yeah.
Yes, a joke of a person. So President Ramaphosa spent all these years as he came in as president to restore a proper functioning government. Firstly, to restore order in the institutions of the state and ensure that these state institutions are able to serve the purpose that they have. He even inherited a delinquent public protector. Mkhwebane, a member of the EFF. I've not heard you speak about it. But you had Mkhwebane as a public protector of this country. People don't speak about that, how badly compromised state institutions were. And we had to restore this. Departments were dysfunctional.
You feel he's done a good job as president and the executive with him?
Extremely great job.
Okay.
And he looked beyond race and color. He looked on ability. But he is not black because we don't believe. But he's capable. The commissioner of SARS is a white man. He's capable. So I can go on and speak about the restoration of state institutions as the ANC intended. On the economic front, President Ramaphosa faced what Joe Biden is facing in America, faced what the Jinping is facing in China and all other presidents across the world. He had to face COVID. He's facing the war in Ukraine. He's facing the instability of the Middle East. And yet our economy is still resilient.
Okay,
it has gone past the post.
But going forward now, Lesego, and I don't want to interrupt you, but we're out of time. But going forward, this is the president that you believe can take us the next 5 years.
With the collective,
right, with the rest of, obviously, the ANC always believes in collective leadership. And this is the cabinet, these are the people, this is your top NEC that's going to take us through the next 5 years. And we'll make this country a better place.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you know,
that's what you're telling us. This is the package.
Let me give you a simple example, and it's something that I want you to do in your show. I want you to study national executive of all these parties, including the ANC. I want you to profile each individual there. I also want you to study the lists which were submitted. There's a reason why they are published, and you profile them. I can tell you now, Gareth, if you come to the Gauteng provincial legislature, there are only 4 parties. There's not many. It's not salads. It's the ANC, it's the EFF, it's the DA, and then it's the IFP with 1%. The EFF's highest qualified person has a grade 11. It's a lawmaker. Tomorrow, the rules committee of the ANC of the legislature is going to release what's going to shock you, where a member of the EFF, his provincial secretary, has been earning money from the legislature for 7 years without going to work, has never attended a single committee, has not gone to any community. So the highest person educated in the EFF in the legislature, grade 11. In the ANC, we've got 4 NQF 10s, meaning we've got doctors. The Premier of Gauteng has a master's degree. You can check in the DA. I don't want to because they believe when you are white, you are qualified. That's why you had a bodybuilder earning 3 million in Swani with a bodybuilder certificate. Go and profile. I want you to do it.
So part of what we do, but listen, part of what we do here is
we have the most qualified.
The reason we ask you here,
the tried and tested, and we.
This is what we do.
The reason we ask
we look
you
at
here
these people.
is to give you the opportunity to do exactly that. And I must give it to you. You're very committed to your facts, and you're very committed to your perspective of all of these things. And even though the opportunity was for you to do just that, to give us the profiles and give us the confidence and share and take our listeners into your confidence and give us access to some of the things that we may not have had access to. What you chose to do with your time is to lambast what other people have done. And to a large extent, I walk away from this conversation knowing less about your position.
I will give you credit. You did make us laugh about bringing up Bernie and Clemeza. And so did Thabo Mbeki
I
in his
can't
speech.
believe Bernie Clemeza has come up so much this week.
I'll also say this to you. I am very pleased that this is the week I got to see former President Thabo Mbeki speaking, because he reminded me of all the good things that the ANC is capable of. I just don't know whether it's that ANC anymore. You say it is. People can make their own minds up.
President Mbeki says it is.
Well, we'll see. I think they've had to beg and pleed with him to come out because the cupboard is so empty. The cupboard is so empty.
President Mbeki, I was involved in those talks. President Mbeki said, I looked at your manifesto. President Mbeki attends. He had stopped attending National Executive Committee meetings. He attends them. He participated in the formulation of the manifesto and has worked very well with the National Executive Committee that's led by President Ramaphosa. And he believes we're in the right path.
I heard President Ramaphosa saying yesterday that he supports Thabo Mbeki's call for us to have a national dialogue after these elections, which I think would be very good. And I'm sure that that's a bit of a quid pro quo as well. But yes, my point is, it was good to hear former President Thabo Mbeki speak. He's a man who speaks clearly. He thinks very hard about things. He cares very deeply about things. I just get the feeling like there are a lot of people in the ANC who've done exactly the opposite over the years.
They're out.
Maybe some.
I spoke earlier on.
Maybe some.
About the harsh winds. In the ANC, we always say the ANC is like a sea.
Okay.
It always cleanses itself. It has done so for.
Have you seen how dirty the sea is in Umhlanga?
It has. It has done. It has done so. It has done so over a period of 113 years. If you go through the history of the ANC, it has faced worse than what it's facing now. It has faced treason from within, and it has survived all these things. And I can promise South Africans, your listeners, that we have turned the corner.
All right,
we have restored the institutions of state, and now we're focusing on growing the economy, ensuring that
I'm going to say what I say to all the politics, all the politicians, all the leaders that we've had in the studio. Is I'm going to wish you luck. I wish you luck for this election, because even the very worst people that might or might not be in the ANC anymore, even the very most selfish people who couldn't care less about this, at some level must believe in the future of this country, even if you're just profiting from it. And I don't believe that that's the case for everybody. I think that there are probably a lot of good people who wish for the best. We've got departments of state that work.
Yeah.
We've got institutions that are trying, come hell or high water, to make things happen.
Sure.
And I do believe that there are many people in the ANC who wish for the best for this country. So I wish, in turn, good luck to you for the elections. And I hope that President Ramaphosa is able to make South Africans enthusiastic about the future, because there are so many young people who aren't even registered to vote. They don't care anymore. They've given up. And I hope we can turn the tide on them as well, since you brought up the sea as a metaphor. Thank you.
No, thank you very much. Thanks for the interview.
27 days to go.
People of Gauteng must go out and vote for the ANC, defend our democracy, and ensure that we continue to build on what we already have. Ensure that we are able to create jobs. We keep our people safe, and we keep the lights on, and also move on to local government election and remove fruit salads from our municipalities so that they can function. And I hope that your show, unlike many other shows, I have that faith that this is the show that can expose what the epicenter of corruption that Tshwane is, and that we hold them to account.
I'll promise you something. we will always be open to hear these things. But the ANC's got to meet us halfway. It's taken longer and it's been harder to get someone from the ANC to speak to us than any of these other Mickey Mouse guys.
Yeah.
And I don't, and not all of them are Mickey Mouse.
I received a call from James. I just received a call from James 4 years ago, and I was arranging this interview. I had a colleague actually
4 years, 4 days.
No, 4 days ago,
Okay.
and I said the premier is coming. Unfortunately, he's stuck in East London, and we had to come. I had a call from.
You're here.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
your credit you
I had a call from
let's-
Farrell, you know.
let's
And
get the ANC in here.
Farrell says, we want the ANC to a debate of Daily Maverick. I said, without even consulting, I said, we're not coming. She said, no, but why are you not? I said, no, you write stories. I'm the spokesperson of the ANC. You've never even called us for a right of reply. You've never. And therefore, we're not going to grace or dignify your platform with our presence. I am here because I've listened to a lot of your views. There's a lot of objectivity, and you are fair to everybody, and that's why we're here.
And the
Because-
invitation's open. Any of the leaders.
because we believe that the role of the media is part of what President Mbeki spoke about in terms of the national dialogue.
Yeah.
That is the watchdog of democracy. But you have NESPA's own media, which NESPAS, by the way, has openly given money to Rise Mzansi, has openly given money to DA, has openly given money to political parties. I mean, the alliance of the DA. They've given them money, and yet they say they want to play a role of a watchdog, and that's why they are cooking the poll saying the ANC is under 40, and that's why it's been found to be false. So we don't want that. We are here because we are here to relax. We are able to talk the truth. You hit us hard. And we're able to not defend ourselves. The ANC never defends its record in government always does, but we are always to owning up where we went wrong.
All right,
and I
well-
think President Mbeki has done that for us, and President Ramaphosa has done that as well in his address to the nation.
You're always welcome. Thanks for coming.
Gareth, thank you. It was nice meeting here.
Phumi,
I
I don't know if Pumi's happy to meet you.
I know she's a drug bottle.
This dragging of my name.
spitting fire.
This dragging of my name through the mud. So your internal polling, just as a closing, your internal polling, just to remind people who may still be listening, your internal polling is giving you over 55%.
Our internal polling is that it says to us that we're going to win this province by an overwhelming majority. We're going to win the South Africa by an overwhelming majority. What our internal polling is telling to us is saying that people in the Western Cape have started to realize that when the DA says it's running the Western Cape very well, it speaks about white affluent suburbs. It's not speaking about Nyanga, Langa, Khayelitsha, and colored areas. And therefore, the DA is losing the Western Cape. They will not be running the Western Cape. That's what our internal polling is telling
But
us.
certainly not the ANC. who will.
Interesting.
It's not the ANC who will either. Let's see what happens. Thank you.
Gareth, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Let's vote out the DA in Swane. We are from there, Gareth. Thank you very much.
Just want it to work. I'm with you if you make it work.
It used to work, you know that, under the ANC.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
What a morning.